I brought some pictures with me today, and we're going to go kind of step by step through these pictures. There's 3 of them. So there's me, in case I'm the guy on the right. Your guys is left, so my right. That's me. A couple of years back, me being the awesome husband I was, I thought, you know what would be awesome for Mother's Day is if I took my wife skydiving. Yeah, right, and I hate heights, I don't like ladders, I'm not getting on the roof of my house, that's one story, it's just not happening, and so let me give you a little feedback real quick before we go to the next one, is we got there, and Jody knows I'm definitely afraid of heights, and the instructor there, Hector, said, hey, who's going first? And I said, me, because if I don't go first, I may back out. He's like, awesome. So our time comes, the lady in front of me had vomited all over him, and so that just made me feel even worse about myself. And he comes back, and he's like, who's going? And Jody goes, me. And I'm like, babe. And she's like, it's for Mother's Day. And I'm like, fine. And so I finally get up there, and we're still on the ground. This is my picture of me on the ground. Go ahead and go to the next one. This is me realizing this is a horrible idea. Horrible idea. My eyes are closed. I'm clenching my vest for all it's worth. And this is the weird part is if you've ever been skydiving or if you ever want to be, just so you know, when they say we're going to go on 3, they're really going to push you on 2 because they don't want you to grab the plane. So this is me thinking okay, he's like 1, 2, and then he pushes me, and this is me going, uh-oh, it's all over. And the next picture this is still me hanging on for dear life. Eyes are still closed, and I'm like, oh no, what did I get myself into? This could go really bad in a really big hurry. So here's the thing, as I was thinking about this message, and I was thinking about a jump and our commitment to Jesus. And honestly, today, I'm not going to powder coat this, but this is going to be a real hard pill to swallow type of message because here's the thing is some of us, if we're honest today, play church really well. Yeah, that's it. We play church really well. And if we were up in a plane and they said, okay, hey, time to follow Jesus, get jumping, some of us would be like, I'm good, I'll ride this down. But the thing is when our commitment comes to Jesus, jumping is what is required. Jumping is what's required because here's the thing is you can prepare all you want. You can prepare and you can think you're ready, but until you fully jump, until you fully surrender, you don't know what's going to happen. And we think we do, we think we control life, that we have some control over our outcome of life, but honestly, if we were honest, we would know this. We're all going to die. That's the truth. We're all going to die. It could be tomorrow, it could be next year, it could be 80 years from now, but the reality is we're all going to die. And the thing is how confident are you with where you are at with Jesus? Because when you jump out of a plane, it's all in His hands. And Hector, he's on my back. But it's all in His hands because if the parachute doesn't open, guess what? I'm going to meet Him really quickly. And if the chute does open, well, then I get to spend some more years here on earth. But it's one of those, how confident are you when it comes to Jesus, knowing that, hey, guess what? I'm going to die. And oftentimes we live a reckless, haughty, and arrogant life, and we take grace for granted. We do. If you look at our lives in particular, if you just look at your own life and go, you know what, am I living arrogantly? Am I just taking grace for granted that, you know what, it's okay, Jesus is going to be there, He's going to forgive me. I mean, think about that in context of everything, how arrogant and haughty is that you would think that it's okay to go on and do whatever you want to do, all because there's Jesus in the cross. I mean, the whole thought of taking advantage of Jesus in the cross flashes in my mind. And I know that, listen, there's times in my life that, trust me, I know that I have lived an arrogant and haughty life. There's days that I still do, and I'm like, yeah, you know. But that's the thing is, but how confident are you with where you are at with Jesus? And it's not just a, hey, I come to church. Congratulations. You come to a building on a Sunday, but is your heart ever really fully given over to Jesus? So going, you know what, Jesus, you got me. I'm 110% in. I'm with you till the end. Like, it doesn't matter if everything goes great in my life, I'm with you. It doesn't matter if everything goes terrible in my life, I'm with you. Wherever it is, God, I'm with you. That's my trust. That's my security blanket. Everything I have is based upon you. And oftentimes we just get away with this, just this life that we live half in or half out, or maybe a quarter in or 3/4 out. And I heard this awesome quote this last week from a guy I listened to on a podcast, and he goes, "You can't be half pregnant." And I was like, that's right. That's right. He's like, you can't be half pregnant. You're either all in or you're all out. And you read scripture after scripture, if God doesn't want you to be lukewarm, He wants you to be on fire, He wants you to be cold. It's either you're in or you're out. Stop being arrogant, let's get going. And so I think, here it is, but how confident are we? If you want to go and turn in your Bibles with me to Daniel, and we're going to be in Daniel all day today. Because here's the thing is, when we jump for God and we're 100% in, we are secure in our eternity of where we're going. But what happens is we start living our lives, and some of us have started off so strong and we've wavered. Some of us have, have been a Christian, and it just isn't as shiny and it isn't as flashy as it used to be. Some of us, we're I'm all in, and then, the next week you're back to living your regular old life. So Daniel chapter 5. Daniel chapter 5. We're going to be in verse 8. Then all the king's wise men came in, but they could not read the writing or make known to the king the interpretation. Then King Belshazzar was greatly alarmed, and his color changed, and his lords were perplexed. The queen, because the word of the king and his lords came to the banquet hall, and the queen declared, "O king, live forever. Do not your thoughts alarm you, or your color change. There is a man in your kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. In the days of your father, light and understanding and the wisdom of the gods were found in him. And King Nebuchadnezzar, your father the king, made him chief of the magicians, enhancers, Chaldeans, astrologers, because of his excellent spiritual knowledge, and because to interpret the dreams, explained riddles, and solve problems were found in this Daniel, whom the king Belshazzar now let Daniel be called, and he will show the interpretation." And so we're in the life of Daniel, and a lot of us know Daniel in the lion's den. We often know Daniel in the lion's den, and so here it is, the king's having these dreams, and all of a sudden now he's needing Daniel's help. And so here's Daniel coming in charge, right? Here's Daniel. He's going along. God has placed him here. God has given him this gift. And here we are. We have Daniel, and now he's getting ready to be, he's going to interpret the dreams, and then the king is going to put him in the lion's den. If you want to turn over to chapter 6. And so the king made this amendment saying that, for the next 30 days you couldn't bow or pray to any other gods. You had to only pray to him. Daniel, of course, then went home, opened up, the window shades, and was like, hey, I'm praying. God is my God. I'm not backing down. This has nothing to do with me. And he's praying to God. And then some people go to the king and say, hey, Daniel's doing this. And so now the king is upset. And then in verse 16, chapter 6, verse 16, then the king commanded, and Daniel was brought and cast into the den of lions. The king declared to Daniel, "May your God, whom you serve continually, deliver you." And a stone was brought and laid on the mouth of the den. And the king sealed it with his own signet, and with the signet his lords, that nothing might be changed concerning Daniel. Then the king went into this place and spent the night fasting. No diversions were brought to him. Sleep fled from him. Then at break the king arose and went into a haste to the den of lions. And he came near to the den where Daniel was. He cried out in a tone of anguish. The king declared to Daniel, O Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God, whom you serve continually, been able to deliver you from the lions? Then Daniel said to the king, O king, live forever. My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths, and I have not been harmed. Because I was found blameless before him, and also before you, O king, I have done no harm. Then the king was exceedingly glad and commanded that Daniel be taken out of the den. So Daniel was taken out of the den. No kind of harm was done to him because he had trusted in God. He had trusted in God. So let me ask you this. What is your den? What is your den and who is your lions? Because here's the thing, is when we trust God, we often fall into this trap of everything's going to go great and everything's going to be fine. And what happens is somebody that may call themselves a Christian, or maybe they don't call themselves a Christian, deliberately goes out of their way to hurt you. They deliberately go out of their way to hurt you. And we're left in this confused state of like, why would this happen? Why would God be letting this go on? And I can't imagine Daniel's thought process. It doesn't go into Daniel's thoughts necessarily. Besides, he was just a man of faith, trusted God 100%. If I was in a den of lions, I'll be honest, prayer would be my only answer, because I would be like, I don't know what else to do. But here's Daniel. He's not afraid. He's in the den of lions, but where are you at? Where's your den and who's the lions? Because what happens is sometimes we get burned by those closest to us, or those that we think are our friends, or maybe it is our own family. And what happens is this reel starts playing in our head of like, how could this happen? Why would God let this happen to me? I mean, you can read over the story of Daniel, and you're like, there's Daniel, like he's doing everything he's supposed to do, and he's doing all these great things, and then he gets, he doesn't get tricked, but the other people trick the king into putting him into the lion's den. Why? Right? Like in our minds, we would immediately want justified of why. Well, I can tell you why. Because people are mean and vicious. People are self-centered and they're self-concerned, only about themselves. And you're like, well, Jared, that's not nice. That's not nice. Well, guess what? The world's not very nice, is it? The world's not nice. And there's times that we all have felt the sting of somebody turning their back on us or going intentionally out of their way to do us harm. And I look at Daniel and I'm like, man, here it is. Like, here's the guy. And the thing I love about this is you see the king, though. Here's the king that made the rule, but he's in anguish. The king's in anguish. He talks about his sleep that night. He went and he fasted that night. He didn't sleep that night. Why did he not sleep? Because he knew Daniel was a godly man. He knew Daniel was innocent. But yet he had to do as the commandment said. And so, where's your den? And who are your lions? Because here's the thing, is when you jump, when you're 100% in for God, it's not an if, it's only a matter of when. It's only a matter of when it's going to happen. And you think, like, some of us in this room, if we took a poll right now, could totally be like, yeah, like I've totally been burned by people. Probably almost all of us could probably raise our hands to that. Because people are that way. People are going to do that. And it's not this nice, pretty rainbows and roses, but it's the truth. It's going to happen. And so you got to realize that life stinks, but are you confident in God? Again, it goes back to this jump of, if you're truly in, then be in. If you're truly there, then be all the way committed. God's not asking for some of your heart. He's asking for all of your heart. And that's the thing. I think we get confused sometimes. We get confused with church and God, is that, what? God is the supreme power. God is the supreme one. He is the one we're trying to please. We're the church. We're enabled to go out and help the community and help others know and learn about Him. But ultimately, God is the one that we're seeking. And so you look at that, and I love, again, how the king, he's in anguish over all this. I'm going to tell you this, is there was a time, I wasn't a new Christian. I had been, a follower of Jesus for quite some time, and no one threw me in a lion's den, thank goodness. But there were people that went intentionally out of their way to try to hurt me. They went intentionally out of their way to try to hurt me. And I can tell you, and I'm just being completely transparent and honest, it broke me. Like, I was broke. I was broken. And I can tell you why I was broken, because I had this self-pity party. That here I was, a man of God. I was praying. I was reading my Bible. I was serving. I was doing all these things. And I was so mad at God because I'm like, how could you let this happen to me? How arrogant is that? And I'm being honest, like, this is a mirror for me. Like, how arrogant is that I think, like, I'm so good that how could God possibly let anything like that happen to me? A guy that sinned every day, how could God possibly let something like that happen to me? And there's Jesus on the cross, sinless and blameless, and he had to pay that price. Yeah, like, that's the thing. Like, if we looked in the mirror and you were honest with yourself and you went, yeah, no, I know all this stuff is wrong, how could we be arrogant to be like, how could God possibly let this happen to me? How could you possibly be where God never wanted you to be to begin with? Have you thought about that? Like, maybe you're somewhere that God never wanted you to be. Maybe you've went in the wrong direction. Maybe you stopped following and you started following yourself and your own ambitions. And so people are going to do harmful things. Go ahead and turn into Daniel 3. Daniel 3. And it's going to be verse 16. And so we have the story of Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. And they're getting ready to be thrown into the furnace, and this is a perfect jump analogy, is, again, death is on the doorsteps. Death is on their doorsteps. And here's what they say in Daniel 3, verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego answered and said to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to answer you in this matter. If this be so, our God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. He is able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace. He will deliver us out of your hand. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods or worship the golden image that you have set up. So we see this. God can and God will, but even if he doesn't. And I know I've used this reference before because to me it's so powerful in our lives that we often think, again, here we have, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego living godly lives. All of a sudden, again, here's these bad things are happening. People are out to get them. The king's getting ready to put them in a furnace, and the awesome thing is the king puts them in the furnace, and then there's a fourth man appears in the furnace, and the king starts freaking out, like, what's going on? I thought you had them in shackles and in chains, and they're walking around. And then he calls them out, and you go back and read the story, like the guys that threw them in the furnace, they ended up dying because it was so hot down there, and then these guys walk out, and nothing's hurt on them, there's no singed hairs, nothing, like, because God is with them. Let's get that. God was with them. God was with Daniel. Poor Daniel. He got less amens than Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. Poor guy. Here's the thing you got to remember. God is with you. God is with you. And so in these moments of pure terror or pure uncertainty, we have to remember that God is with us. We have to know that God is with us. Because here's the only reason you would ever jump out of a perfectly good airplane is if you knew and you were 100% confident in who you were in God. For me, at least. That was me. And for some of us that face the realities and that face the disappointments of life, know that God is with you. That it doesn't matter the situation, it doesn't matter how deep and, horrible that it is. It doesn't matter how shallow it looks to somebody else, but to you, it's real and it's affecting you, and God is with you through that. Just like he was with Daniel, just like he was with Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. And here's the last thing I want us to understand is you look at those guys, all of those examples, and there's plenty more, they all had somebody with them. Granted, they had God with them, but you see, Daniel had the king, right? Daniel had the king that went home that night and was in anguish and didn't sleep and fasted. You have Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. They're like, you know what? We're all three. We're going. We're going. You didn't see one of them like, it wasn't me, it was those two guys. I don't want to go on. It was those two guys. No, they were linked arm in arm like, let's go. I'm with this. Let's all go together. So the last thing I want you to think about is not only is God with you, but who else do you have around you that you can link arm in arm with and say, you know what? These are my brothers and my sisters. And it doesn't matter what happens, I'm going to stick by them and I'm going to support them through it all. And I want us to really get that, because here's the thing, is I know, again, I don't want us to get confused by our commitment to God and commitment to church, because they're two totally separate things, but I want you to know that we have to have people around us. We have to have people around us. And if we don't, we're just like walking and wondering. We're just like, you see like this innocent animal, and guess what? Satan is there. He's ready to pounce. He's coming after you. If you're doing anything for God, he's coming after you. And you need brothers and sisters around you to help protect you, to help hold you accountable, and help to hold you up when life gets too tough. When life gets too tough. When life gets too tough. And we think about when life gets too tough, and oftentimes when we think about life getting too tough, is the reason it's so tough is because we feel alone. And I love in Daniel's example of the king, and I love in Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, like they were there together, and I know I talk about community a lot, but I think it's so crucial that you have brothers and sisters around you. That you have brothers and sisters around you. And I'm not saying that they have to be in this church. They can be in other churches. They can be, but have brothers and sisters around you that think like you, that want to make you better, that will uphold you and keep you accountable to what you're doing. Because it's so easy to wander off on our own, right? Like it just is. If it was up to us, I asked the question on Facebook, and a lot of you shared it but didn't comment. Not calling any names. But then I was like, I didn't comment at first either, so I'm no better than anybody else. But here's the thing, I asked people, why don't you go to church? And it's an honest question. And I wasn't looking for some deep biblical explanation. And I love how Amy's like, bam, I got this. And I was so happy she answered. I was like, yes, keep them coming. Just keep them coming. Because here's the thing, is we're all like that. It's okay. You're not alone. When you wake up and you're like, you know what, today I am just tired. I've had a long week. I just want to sleep. Guess what? You're not alone. Or you look at it and go, you know what? I just don't feel like listening to the bald guy today. It's okay. You're not alone. There are other people that probably feel the exact same way. Yeah. That's just it. It's okay. You're not alone. You're not alone. But here's what I want you to know is that we do value you and we do care for you. And that's the thing, is it's like, it was interesting, and this is totally off topic, so I'm just going to apologize right now. Last week, okay, we're family, right? No? Okay. So whoever said amen, come to the front row. Me and you, we're going to have a family. So here's the thing, last week, attendance was this low. It is what it is, and it was, and I can tell you, it really bothered me, and I know it shouldn't. I'm just being honest again and transparent. I know it shouldn't, and I tried to keep my head high, and you know what, Jared, it's okay. We're gonna preach to who's here, and that's who God has given us, and we're just gonna go with that. But it's one of those it's weird because it's because I miss people. Like, if I consider you a friend and you're part of our family, like, I miss not seeing you. And I miss, all these things. And so, again, I just want to say, because I consider you guys my family, like, I love to see you guys, and I want to have you guys around me. Because here's the thing is, I know I'm vulnerable too. And those that, I've talked to this week, I told them, like, I'm sorry and I apologize. I wasn't into worship like I should have been because my mind was being attacked, and I was trying to fight off this attack because I was like, oh no, Jarrett, look, you're horrible. Everybody left you. Good job. And it's just those things. But again, that's why you have to have brothers and sisters around you to come around you and lift you up and pray for you. And so when I talk about brothers and sisters lifting us up and praying for us, I think that's important. And so if I could have the elders and Pastor Larry, would you come up here?